Hello, my name is Agustin Rincon. I decided to make this video because I realized that I don't really like, or I don't think that the information that you can find online about who I am and what I do is sufficient to make a decision, especially to make a decision about if I'm gonna be living and sharing a communal space with people who have never met me. I just don't think there's not enough information, and I'm not a particularly mediatic figure. I'm not really a public figure of sorts, but not really, and that is partly by design, or to put it more precisely, it is the consequence of the decisions of my ethical practice, basically, what I try to do. So I'll just introduce myself via this video, and hopefully you get to know me a little bit better. My name is Agustin Rincon Mendez. I was born in Maracaibo, Venezuela. It's in Latin America, right? The Maracaibo, Venezuela, in Latin America. Maracaibo is really in the border of Colombia and Venezuela. So there's a lot of traffic, and we have a big lake, which has been the biggest source of oil for a big part of the country. I started doing art as a child, and I, kept going. I went to college, and then I went to Buenos Aires to do a master in the combined practices so I could, go deeper and deeper into the things that I was interested in. So I started making exhibitions and doing art. I think I had my first exhibition when I was 14 or 13 years old. What I realized was that there was a gap between the pieces that I was doing and the content that I was treating in these pieces that I was doing and what the general public was interested in understanding as art. How am I gonna pay attention to this gap between what I am doing within the studio and the reality, the social reality of everyday life? This difference made me think there was something that just the act of making the piece and exhibiting it wasn't really enough. So I realized that art, or I wanted to make art that was also a pedagogical device. So I started kind of thinking about art that was at the same time, let's call it an expression of my subjectivity, and that it was as some kind of a poetic translation of what I consider to be important ideas that will be the general public and society as a whole would benefit from having them in everyday conversation, to have these signifiers present every day. And what kind of subjects I was dealing with? Well, I was really interested since the beginning in psychology, psychoanalysis, to be precise, more right, Lacanian psychoanalysis, existential philosophy, situationism, these ideas of situationism, and I guess that was it. So when you kind of realize that you want to start thinking about yourself as a teacher, art teacher, or teaching through art pieces, you realize that you have to kind of have a negotiation between the public, the people who are going to be seeing the piece, and the ideas that you're trying to convey, and your own subjectivity and your own need of saying, right, for your own personal reasons. So these things are not usually in one in one box, but they spread across the discourse. So I realized that if I wanted to do that, I was gonna have to. So the more I study these techniques, these theories, I started picking up techniques, what kind of techniques they were using. I was very interested in not only teaching or pedagogical techniques, but in the techniques that psychoanalysts use with their analysts, their patients or their clients. So I kind of wrote for myself some self-imposed rules of what I want my art to more or less to be, ethical rules, and it was just realize that finding your own voice in the sea of all that is possible in contemporary art is just to put yourself certain restrictions. The first one would be that an art project should be in service of the community, right? It makes no sense for a teacher to teach something that is not important to the students, right? That's the whole point. Why would we teach something that is irrelevant or useless or even toxic or damaging to the consciousness of the viewer, right? And the second one would be that subjectivity or my own, like I say, the things that I would like to say for my own, expression of my soul or something like that. That was important. That was necessary to build an art piece. I think, and that's very important. Otherwise, it could be too cold. These kind of pieces could be too cold, and I wanted to do pieces that were made out of passion and love and obsessions, desire, right? My pieces are about these things: desire, love, obsession. To me, what's important is there, but should be there only as a surplus of what the piece is giving to the community. Of course, because I'm the one who's doing it, my subjectivity will drip out of it. It will fall out of me, and there's nothing I can do about it. But because it's gonna be already there, even if I don't do anything about it, I don't see any point in building it from there. The other one would be the idea that art should be relevant. It should not be shocking. It should not be a spectacle. It should not be, should not be necessarily even pretty or ugly, or aesthetics and ethics. I think they should be really combined. And the best kind of art that we can hope to do is one that can represent or present or point a finger at what is the desire of the epoch, what is the desire of the times and place in which these pieces are being developed. And because they are usually thought out, these projects that I'm doing are usually thought out with an idea of the audience that they're gonna be shown in to, that shifts the idea of what is relevant or what is important, because I'm trying to build a portrait of a society's unconscious. Let's say that. So the idea that a thing or a time, a moment in time, and a moment in a certain place thinks for itself, and I would like to, with these teaching devices and that I call art pieces, to try to portray, this is what we are like, getting to know the unknown of our own situation, our own society, the unknown within the things that we see every day, the things that we know, the unknown within the known, if that makes any sense. So this obviously overlap. There is no text without context, right? And because there is no text without context, I don't truly believe in the idea of an auteur. I like being the one doing these pieces, but I don't believe that it should be. A piece doesn't mean anything in a vacuum. Nothing means anything in a vacuum. They're just signifiers, like autistic autistic pieces. It doesn't exist. Everything that you create is created within a context, and the context where it happens is more than 50% of the meaning that you can grasp from any particular event. Yeah, so basically what we're trying to do, or what I try to do with my pieces, is to take, let's just say, the desire of a community, the dreams of a community, and this take many forms, as could be the trash, it could be spoken words, could be performances, could be different. It could take any medium, and what it should do, I think, is to try to rearrange, compose, and decompose, deconstruct, try to find new ways of composing a text, the text of society, of the fabric of the community, and it should be possible to rearrange it and to reorganize it. The idea is to find or to invite the viewer and the people who participate doing the pieces to think about diversity of thought, diversity of what is the realm of the possible. So kind of to shift that. One piece I remember we used the trash. We used literal trash, different kinds of trash, and I invited artists to play with this trash and to build pieces and to see, okay, this is what we do with these objects that are the remains of our desire. What else can we do with the remains of our desire? Well, and we created sculptures out of it, and we created interactive pieces, and all this. It's part of the possibility. The idea is to rearrange what we think is the excrement of society, the trash of our minds, and to try to mine that, to try to mine what we think is useless, and to try to find the pieces of truth there. The production aspect, even though I am more or less or completely an outsider kind of artist, I went to college. I went, like I said, to do a master, so I'm not really an uneducated, and I do have managed to create a nexus, connections with art institutions, and for most of all these projects that you will see in my resume, I had some sort of support, if not 100%, or if not material support. We did have some support. Some places, the museums would allow me to do projects where people were just living in the museum and using it as a studio in the gallery of the museum. Some others, like this other piece, they gave me resources to being able to to bring trash to an empty lot, and to bring artists to do these interpretations. Some other, they just gave me a little bit of money so I can produce a magazine, like a mail art magazine, or even a record. We put out a record. So there is always some kind of connection with an institution that would allow these things to happen. It would help me, right? Because otherwise I'm just a guy. I'm not a famous artist by any means. I'm not in BNR. So the individual power that I have is merely the power of my speech. What I'm trying to convey to you is that this is how I usually make projects. I talk to the people, I ask, and I think that they say yes because they believe that the community that they represent is gonna be benefited. It's gonna it's gonna get good things out of it. Who consumes the pieces? Well, so far, because the people who are consuming the pieces are obviously the people within the communities that I'm working with, right? Small towns, or just the people who usually come to some cultural spaces. But I think the artists who come and are part of the process of making it, because they're all experiences, and because it's an experience based, so it's like a designing situations, situations. The more you spend building the situation, the more you spend immersing the situation that is being created, the more you're going to consume of it, right? And the viewers, the communities, they come and they are there, but for there the experience is more fleeting, it's more ephemeral, because they come, they see, and they go. But the artists that are working and building the pieces, these collective pieces and these situations, they are immersing them. So I think there's something to say for that, and that's why I always prefer to invite as many people as possible, because that means that more people are going to be immersed in the subject that we're trying to cover. Now the other thing is I think because didn't really have a budget or a team working with me, but what I'm trying to perfect is that in the future, everything that I do takes the possibility of another medium, so a medium of online possibility. So that the people can consume it not only in the time that it happens, which is ideal, but also that they can see or hear a documentary or a podcast and listen to the conversations and try to get as much as the experience online anywhere in the archives of the internet. So that's my ambition for the future and for my future projects, is to move into those kinds of mediums more. And I think maybe we'll start with this video that I'm doing right now, just to start getting a community together in YouTube. Representation. So I think on this piece that we're talking about, right? When I'm doing a piece by myself, if it's a painting, a collage, stuff like that I like to do, video work, the representation, because I'm using always found materials. So the representation is dynamic. Sometimes it's more of this than of that, depending on what I'm doing right now. With the paintings that I'm doing and the collages that I'm doing, it has much more to do with the representation that you see in the city. I try to take publicities and to take garbage, flat waste from the cities, and try to rearrange these things. So those will be for the bidimensional kind of pieces that I do. But when I'm working with other mediums like social sculptures, or even this idea that I'm proposing to do right now, it's totally different, because what I do is that I try to build a platform in which everybody can be represented. Everybody that can the want to participate will be represented. I'm not gonna make a decision over what is gonna be said or not. I'm not gonna edit that. People in my pieces have the room to do what they want to do and to say what they want to say, because, as I say, what I'm interested more is in diversity, in the different readings of the same text. That's really the thing that is really interesting to me, and that's what I think is more subversive in a way, in a nice way, in a subversive which is not destructive, constructive subversion. That's what I'm into. One of the things that I do is to try to decontextualize, but not like Duchamp would take a everyday object, put in a museum, and now it's art. I would like to take the art and put it in an everyday context, so to do the opposite. So the art is the one going outside of its way to find audiences, and there is something interesting that happens in that possibility of representation, because it allows, first of all, to be with your guard off. People don't put the guard, the mask of I'm going to the museum, but they found art in a regular place. I remember we used to do this open conversation piece. It's called The Real No Show. It was in a stand-up comedy venue, and people would come, and I started talking a little bit, and then I would pass the mic, and the public would become some sort of a meeting of, no agenda meeting, where people would just talk, and we would try to, guide the conversation over some themes that I was working on, mainly, psychoanalytical, like the petit object and autre, and all this stuff. I would try to, so we talk about that, so it would be like a collective kind of psychoanalysis session or something. But there wasn't any particular analyst. We were all, just talking and analyzing what we were all saying. So that was pretty interesting. And people who didn't even thought they could be represented, people that they never even thought the idea of putting themselves out there, they found a place without even looking for it. So I think the representation is really a fundamental part of what I do. Themes and identity. Well, we think of art as a way of producing pleasure in a positive, subversive way. We talk about using cynical techniques, cynical and clinical techniques, to kind of break a little bit the mainstream discourse, and then further analysis. And then we try to do further analysis. I think pieces are usually not completed. In some point, the pieces become the memory of themselves. So I usually work with found objects and what become, after a while, archival information from sometimes my own pieces, sometimes other people's art. And I try to put that into different mediums, so I can make drawings about a performance, or I make a video, and the sound of the video is an interview that I did with another person. And well, more or less that's the way that I like to work. But it is incomplete. I feel like it is incomplete when I'm only using myself as a point of reference, and the city around me, right? Because the city, well, is loud, it's very loud. Things happen. Things are always, and the market is always putting new images outside and try to sell other stuff. But when there's a possibility of building something with an institution, and to kind of ask questions into a institution that is building knowledge, I think that's the most fulfilling and more interesting work, because I would like to, take this. I always remember when I was, just a student growing in Maracaibo, we used to listen to the people who would travel and come back with some stories. So I would like to be able to do that also for the people who are still there in Maracaibo. I'm right now living in Switzerland, right? I'm in Zurich. And right now, that's part of my practice, to talk, to send information, to organize exhibitions, to try to represent the body of Latin American culture, and also to bring information from Europe to Latin America, to try to have this to exchange for somebody that is curious like I was and didn't have the means to travel. Okay, I think this is it. I hope you find this idea beautiful. I think it is. Goodbye.